3, 2, 1.
What's up, everyone? Dan here, Crypto Capital Venture, July 27th, 2018. I hope you're doing well. I got some much needed rest last night. I'm feeling very energetic on this Friday, and Bitcoin's up 3% right now. And I want to talk about something extremely important, which is the power of moving averages in an upward trend. Very powerful. And I want to dig into this. I'm going to do my best to keep this organized so that you can kind of follow what I'm saying, because it really is important. And it's something that has proven true over and over in terms of Bitcoin in uptrends. So let's see if we can get some clues as to what might be next for Bitcoin. Let's jump into the charts right now. So Bitcoin on the daily, here you go. You see it. And I should probably get rid of these little areas. So right now, one thing you can see is, and it's lining up perfectly with our most previous technical analysis, which is to say we had this red daily yesterday. We needed to see support at this red line, which is simultaneously that 200 EMA on the daily. Very important part for Bitcoin. On the live stream last night, I talked about the power that Bitcoin has seen as of the last couple of weeks, breaking through the 50 EMA, then breaking through the 200 EMA, and now relying on the 200 for support. Very bullish scenario, very good indicator. Doesn't mean we're completely, in this long-term upward trend in Bitcoin just yet. However, it's a very good starting point, and it's a strong starting point. So we mentioned that 200 daily, the 200 actually exponential moving average on the daily chart. And right now, we can say, yes, we need support there. But if we can dive into Bitcoin a little bit deeper and get a sense on, how does that line up in really the story of its movement, the story of its momentum. And to look at momentum, what we do is we look at the stock RSI. We do it a lot, especially in downward market trends and upward market trends. So right now we've been in an upward market trend. So a quick glance on the daily at the stock RSI will show you this. It will show you we're kind of in that overbought channel up here, right? We're kind of coming out of that channel. So at first glance, you may think, okay, we're due to come back down into that oversold area, right? We're due for a pretty big correction. I want to point something out to you. Through the history of Bitcoin, and you can go back in the charts often and see this, Bitcoin in an upward trend is very powerful in terms of momentum. So even if Bitcoin is closer to the overbought area, Bitcoin still can see gains of 20, 30% plus on the daily chart. So I want to just throw that out there, but more than throw it out there, I want to show you. So really, for first example, we can go back to this area, right back in the middle of April, okay? You see Bitcoin was in that overbought. This was after the second bottom, mind you. This was in that uptrend after the second bottom. Bitcoin on the stock RSI in that overbought area, right? Shortly after having this cross on the MACD, the cross above the signal line, we have the second bottom formed. We have the stock RSI in the overbought area. And then I want to show you something. In that overbought area, we had most recent gains from that bottom up to that overbought area of 30% gains. 30% gains on the daily stock RSI Bitcoin overbought. What happened next? Did we have a huge pullback back down to the oversold area on the stock RSI down here? No, we didn't. We had a slight pullback to the 80 line, to around the 80 line on the stock RSI. And that set us up for the next run, right? And that next run came at gains of 25%. 25% gains as the stock RSI is close to that overbought area. So that is a very important thing to note. And you can go back on Bitcoin charts and you can see this time and time again in terms of the stock RSI in these upward trends on these pullbacks. So right now you can see pullback to around the 80, right? Upward trend. We didn't pull all the way back down on the stock RSI. And then we have 31% gains over the coming week up here in that overbought area. And then even after that happened, I want to point out, even after all that happened, all we had is a slight pullback, right? And we can measure that right now. We can measure that pullback, 12% pullback consolidates a little bit, brings us back down into that oversold area nicely in this continued uptrend. So similar to that right now, if we're forming this third bottom, which everyone is, very optimistic on, not everyone, a lot of people are optimistic on, it's something similar that we want to see. We might see a bounce off of this area. So don't be so sure to anticipate a pull all the way back down. We had a nice pullback over the last couple of days. We had 2 red candles right there for a total of, 7 to 8% losses. So that pulled us down on the stock RSI slightly, but it sets us up nicely above the 200 EMA. So we have the stock RSI kind of trying to tell us something in terms of a slight consolidation pullback, but you pair that up with support above the 200 EMA, and you have what may be lining up to be a nice, powerful move for Bitcoin. And we've seen it time and time again, where even from the top of maybe this 80 area on the stock RSI, you've seen 20, 30, 40% gains in Bitcoin. So what would that look like? 20% gains from this area on a run would bring us to $9,300 around for Bitcoin. And then a 30% gain will have us testing, just around testing, or even slightly breaking that most previous second high. That breaking that most previous second high on the daily would be the icing on the cake. It's what everybody in the market is waiting for, is to make a run to that area and break it. So will that happen? Time will tell. I just really wanted to point out on the stock RSI that just because the daily is overbought does not mean that this run is over and we need to be pulled back down drastically. Does not mean that. So be prepared for that. Lastly, I do want to leave with the 4-hour chart because, and this is important, I want to point out when we had this, we took this example back in mid-April, right? So that date is April 18th. So in that overbought area, April 18th, I want to point out, what did the 4-hour look like right around that time? The 4-hour looked like this. Let me continue. On April 18th, let's see. April 18th, let me get my chart, my brush. April 18th. So here we go. April 18th is right down here. April 18th, oversold on the 4-hour. Right? That mini little pullback on the stock RSI on the daily, but oversold nicely for a nice pullback on the 4-hour. And if you notice, that pullback on the 4-hour at that time rests us right above the 200 EMA on the 4-hour chart. So Bitcoin finding support at the 200 EMA for support on the 4-hour chart at that time and getting a nice bounce from this oversold area to kind of continue that uptrend. This is on the 4-hour chart that we're looking at right now. So take note of what this looks like down here on the stock RSI 4-hour. And then let's go to where we are today. Very, very similar pullback. Coming right out of this oversold area right now on the stock RSI 4-hour and heading up as of the time I do this video, approaching $8,200 right now. So right now in the short term, we can really take a good look at the 4-hour. If this momentum continues, the goal right now to anticipate would be breaking this previous high close of around 83.92 on the 4-hour. So right here, we want to see if Bitcoin can run up. So previously on the 4-hour on April 18th, we had the support at the 200 EMA on this similar bounce. And today, we have support on the 50 EMA with us already having a cross. And I'm trying to open up my chart so you can see. My chart's not working. We've already had this cross of the 50 above the 200. So compared to that second bottom in terms of what the chart looks like, in terms of the 50 crossing above the 200, and we have support right now above the 50 EMA, and a possible bounce in play right now for a further move up, Bitcoin looking even stronger than it did back in mid-April. So I really wanted to talk about the power of pairing up the 50 EMA, the 200 EMA, and pairing it up with the momentum indicators, the momentum oscillators in the stock RSI. So those are my thoughts right now. This doesn't mean that we won't go down. It could totally happen, so please be prepared. I know this is really more of a bullish sentiment type of video, but be prepared either way. Extremely important, as you know. We don't know where the market will go, but this is what the charts are telling me right now. This is what the indicators are telling me, and this is all with that bad news that the Winklevoss twins got yesterday in regards to their ETF being rejected. This is happening right now with that bad news. So market looking pretty bullish as of right now. I do this video around 2 o'clock Eastern. Let's see what happens. Bitcoin making moves. I hope you're doing well. Let me know your thoughts on this video. Do you agree? Do you disagree? I truly appreciate you coming by and watching. As always, I will see you in the next video, and God bless.